Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Man United 1, Leeds United 2. Not the result we were expecting. A very bad performance in that first half cost us this game. You look at the players, they were not ready. We talked about this in the last preview when we said Man United, when they have a long break, they come into the game very sluggish. Their match sharpness is usually a very big issue, and this was always going to be the case. For some reason, they weren't really training that well. In the match, they were expected to come in knowing that Leeds are fighting for relegation, and this is the period where teams that are fighting for relegation are more dangerous than the teams even fighting for the title. They give it their all, they are fighting for their lives. You know, the relegation comes with a lot of changes in their lives, so it's all about fighting for everything they have. And this game showed that Man United were not prepared mentally for the game, because Leeds were sharper, they were faster to the balls, they had more pressing, they covered more distance, and within the first 10 minutes they had very good chances and they could have taken the win. We didn't have any control of the game. Obviously, there are some reasons we can talk about. The fact that Licha was returning, this is the first game he's had in a very long time, so you knew he's not going to be having that much fitness and sharpness. We look at players like Ugarte has not been playing for Man United. The moment we looked at the lineup and Mino was not there, this was always going to be a problem, and this is the result of the thing. The good thing about it is that we are ahead with 7 points from the 6th position, which is Chelsea, but we couldn't afford to lose points against Leeds, because the games, when the pressure piles up, you never know how people will react. You need to always make sure that you ensure your qualification before considering anything else. So if we had won today, meaning we would probably have been left with 2 games. We beat Chelsea into 1 more game, and we are qualified for the Champions League. There's still room, because we still have to win 3, maybe 4 games right now if we can't win that Chelsea game. But this was another performance that showed that these players, when really they have to turn up, when the opportunity arises, they just are not ready for it. They are not prepared mentally. They just come in laxly trying to play the ball, and it shows there's something wrong with this team. I've been talking about the lack of intensity, especially since the first few games after Carrick. The intensity has kept going down. It has to be something with training. They are not training well enough, because the reports have always been that the Man United players have been training less. There are smaller sessions where they're probably playing with more intensity, but over a long period they're not playing with the intensity that they need for games, and this usually causes them to start games slow. Eventually they do pick up when the individual quality starts shining, but if you have no organization in those first few minutes, like we saw against Leeds today, it can be very costly. In fact, we could have gone into the half 3-0 down. Martinez saved a very good ball on the line, and that saved us. You could look at the second half. Calvert-Lewin could have converted one of his headers that Lamine saved on the line, but we can also consider the chances that they saved on the line. They saved 2 chances, but the way you start a game usually determines how it goes, because the Premier League is a very tough. Every team can hold its own, so the team that scores first usually has that advantage to get the game over the line. And the moment they score the second goal, then it was always going to be an uphill task. Then you are not probably even looking at winning, you are probably looking at a draw. And it got worse when Martinez was red carded. I did agree with the red card, because one of the things about the red card is that if you look at the motion of Calvert-Lewin, Martinez is first hit by Calvert-Lewin in the neck with his hand, and they were trying to regain balance. He tries to reach out and grab the bob on his hair, and that is not violent conduct, because if you look at it 50-50, you realize the instigation was done by Calvert-Lewin, but the VAR deemed it right to be involved. Calvert-Lewin talked to the ref and told him that he had been his hair had been pulled back. Immediately they went to the monitor, and some of these referees can't think on their own. The moment they go to the monitor, they think they must give a decision, and he gave a decision that was soft and changed the game completely. What was surprising about this game is how we played with 10 men, because from the moment that we went down to 10 men, we played an even better game. We had more chances created. We also had more of the ball. We resorted to a tactic that serves us very well. Those diagonals to Ahmad, or when Mbeumo came on, or to Cunha, so that they can put in cutbacks. We didn't use our striker well enough, and you know the chance that he got, he almost scored, which Dalot tipped off from the line. It was direct at him, and if he had just gotten it either side of him, that would have scored. So there are very many problems with this team. One thing that this game showed is that Michael Carrick might not be the manager for this team, because if you look at the games against Crystal Palace, we barely survived until they went down to 10 men. We were not winning that game. We just got lucky, won it 2-1. The game against Everton was also another game. We had a very poor performance until the 75th minute when we scored. The game against West Ham, the same. The also game against Newcastle, we lost against 10-man Newcastle. So there have been performances that have not been good enough, even though we have gotten results. It reminds me of the run made by Aston Villa. There's a time Aston Villa made an 11-game run. If you look at the XG, they were performing the XG by at around 10 positions at around that time. They kept winning games even though they were not deserving, including the game against Man United where we pampered them. We did everything except win that game. 2 mistakes from Euro. Morgan Rogers comes inside, cuts inside and scores the similar goal. So there's been a problem with this team in the way that it approaches games, and this shows that probably there's something in training, that they are not really training enough patterns to be able to have that relationship in games. If you look at the aspects of the game, you see that Leeds really deserved this game. They had an expected goals of 2.37 to Man United's 1.31. We had 20 total shots to 15, and those were in the final minutes where Leeds knew they had to protect their lead. They are having 2-0. They are a team in relegation. Do they really need an extra goal? So they know if they can defend and we score 1, then they have the win. The worst case scenario, if you can score 2, then it's a draw, and that point is really crucial in the fight for relegation. Right now, we might probably have secured their stay in the league, because they now have 6 points over Tottenham, and with that 6 points, they can probably win 1 more game and it will be enough. If you look at the total shots on target, we had 9 to their 6. But that first half is where the damage was done, because I looked at the XG in that first half. Man United had an XG of 0.19 compared to 1.96 of Leeds. And if you look at that XG, that is a very high XG. It shows that they had a clear chances to score and they had the opportunities to score. They could have even done more damage, except for those small interventions, one by Martinez and the other one, I think, by Lamens. So Lamens had a good game. Generally, this game would have been over, but he kept us in the game. If you look at the player ratings, as I said, Lamens was one of our best players. He had a 7 over 10. He made some crucial saves that kept us in the game. He made one mistake that could have turned into a goal, but he also closed the angle, making sure that it didn't turn into a goal. Shaw had a 5 over 10. Once again, I have a problem with how he doesn't cross the ball. In most cases, he gets into good positions, but today he really tried it towards the end, but he needs to start that in the first half. Martinez had a 5 over 10. I can't really judge him because of the red card. He was out of balance because he was first hit by Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and trying to get the balance, he probably held on to the hair of Calvert-Lewin, something he shouldn't have done. You look at Euro. Euro was the person doing most of the defensive work. In this game, he was everywhere. He was trying to control the ball. Yes, he's capable for that first goal, but if you look at that first goal, he wins the ball and then he's hit by Calvert-Lewin. Calvert-Lewin didn't make an attempt to win the ball. He just hit Euro, and yes, you can argue that he could be stronger, but once you are hit in the face, there is no really need of being stronger. Some of these phrases that come from the English game are just stupid, because one, being stronger when you're being hit in the face by a hand, it's nothing you can do. He won the first ball, and unfortunately it bounced in the box. Mazraoui was not ready for that rebound, and Okafor was fast to the ball. So Euro, I think he had an overall good game, except for that first goal that he probably wasn't really expecting that the referees would give it. Mazraoui, this is one of his poorest games that I've watched. He wasn't really up to the game. Something that he wasn't really the Mazraoui. No, he made a lot of mistakes in terms of the passing. He was really not in good positions when defending. So this is one of his poorest performances. He gets a 5 over 10. Casemiro, I gave him a 7 over 10 just because of that goal. That goal gave us some hope, and he was almost probably getting another goal, but he was offside. So he really tried and created so many attacking threat. He was our attacking threat. Bruno Fernandes to Casemiro, then Casemiro tries the header, because at that point when we were 10 men, the set pieces were always going to be the ones to get us back into the game. Cunha, it's another poor game. He has a 5 over 10. He didn't really impact the game. He was trying to to drive on the left, trying to put in the cutback, but I think they should have used the striker more. And one of the things that I really don't like with Cunha and Ahmad, they really stayed out of the box, because if they were getting into the box, the crosses that come in, if Sesko misses the crosses, then they're in a position to score. But they really kept out of the 18 box, so they were just watching. And you look at somebody like Sesko, except in the second half where they started to participate. In the first half, Sesko, even if the crosses came in, he was always marked by two people. So in the second half, he was able to get that space, and that's why he got that chance that he got, because there were more people in the box than giving the Leeds defenders more to think about. Mbeumo came on, and he was good from the moment he came on, but he's still I think he's still thinking too much when the chances come his way. There was one good chance that came his way. He probably could have finished first time, but he probably tried to take 1-2 touches, and the Leeds defender got to him. So there's still something that is missing. There was a reason why he didn't start this game. We were calling that starting him as striker wasn't working well enough. But this shows that even when you start Sesko, something about Sesko is when he starts, he doesn't really have the same level of a performance that you'd expect when he comes on as a sub. So that gives Michael Carrick something to think about going into the other game. Ahmad, the same. He wasn't really impactful as he should have been. He tried some cutbacks, trying to get in from the right and shooting, but sometimes he could have passed instead of shooting. He tried to create some chances, but we need more from Ahmad. Ahmad is a very talented player, but you feel that he doesn't have that desire to fight, to, you know, that nastiness that you need from a player. He needs to develop that nastiness, because this is the top level, and you really not you can't be just nice, that just trying to probably play as if you're having fun. It has to be nasty in the way you're playing, because he can impact the game more because of his talent. Sesko had a 4/10. I think he really didn't hold up the ball well. There were balls that were put into him, and he was shoved off the ball very easily. He wasn't really impacting the game the way you'd expect he would, and this was one of the cases where I didn't see his impact in the game like he should have. And then Dalot came on towards the last minutes of the game to try to relieve Mazraoui. Mazraoui has not been very fit, and you expect that Dalot, once he came on, he could have done better decisions. One of the decisions is when he swiped at a ball was cleared, and he tried to score the Zidane goal from 2002 against Bayer Leverkusen. And you are not a striker for a reason. One of these things is very hard to score that goal, and sometimes you just have to recycle the ball, put the ball in, create a better chances. You just lashes at the ball, such a crazy hit, you don't expect the kill to go on. And when you are in the dying minutes of the game, every single chance, how you choose to decide to use the ball is important. So generally, the game was something that was really disappointing. We had to wait 23 days for this game, and there was eagerness within the Man United fan base. I was really eager about the game. I expected something better. I knew there was going to be a problem with match sharpness, but I didn't know to what extent it would be. You look at the training sessions they went to do in Dublin. You wonder, wow, what were they really training for? What we could keep seeing were they what was he calling head volleyball or foot volleyball that they were playing. And yes, it's good to have fun, it's good to enjoy yourself, but I don't think they were training hard enough, because the intensity was simply not there in the first half. And in the second half, Leeds were content to defend and try to hit on the counter. Then we came to our own, because then we just used Bruno to hit the diagonal balls and then try to win a corner. Once we win a corner, we whip it in. Then we go back to the same. If we get the ball, we try the diagonal ball, either to Cunha, to Ahmad, to Mbeumo, depending on who was on the pitch. And it was so predictable, because there was really no plan B. That was the only plan that we had from there on. And yes, we could have nicked a point if you consider the balls that were cleared off the line, but it's still a cause of concern that we can come at home knowing that we really need the 3 points, knowing that next season we'll have Champions League, knowing how much this means, especially once our opponents lose points, and we never really did enough to make a statement or to win that game. So hopefully there are still 6 games remaining. Now it's tougher, because we really need 4 of the remaining games. Yes, some of our opponents can still lose games, which means we may probably even need 2, even 3, depending on the results that come from the other teams. But it shows there's really something within this team that is not really right mentally in the way they approach games when they have to win. So let's see what this week brings. This is a very important week because on Saturday we play Chelsea. So hopefully they can train better, they can be ready for it. We haven't been having very good away games. Our away games, if you look at all the away games that we have had, it was just barely surviving. We had a game against Newcastle away, we lost that one. We had a game away against Bournemouth that went 2-2. We had another game against West Ham just recently, went 1-1. In the Everton game, Sesko came on to save us. It got 1-0. So we are really not having such good performances away from home, and this is something that needs to be addressed, because I know Chelsea are hurting, and this is one of the things that they might want to do to prove to their fans that they are still within a fighting chance. So this is going to be a very big game, because the winner of that game will really do their chances of Champions League qualification a big, massive favor. So let's see how this week goes, and hopefully we can get the win against Chelsea. So thank you. See you in the next one.